first term of service of yours. Could we also ask you about your classes, about your students? What was the school like? What were the students, you know, super excited to learn, or were they at first a little reticent? Or
Do you want to hear the story about Mata?
Yeah. And maybe I was actually going to ask if you remember any student that stood out and if there was any relationship or anything during your teaching and interactions with your students, because obviously they remember you.
Yes.
Very vividly.
I, at any one time, probably had something like 120 students in different classes, so it was very difficult to remember faces or names, especially 40 years later. I remember some faces, some students were brighter or more, any teacher would find some students stand out more than others, but I can't remember any of them specifically. What I do remember, well, there was, and I was, you know, Linda and I were and Steve were the Americans, so we were somewhat weird, and I had this weird accent. It took time for them to get to know me. I started, the school was very well equipped. It was a brand new, many of the facilities were brand new from the World Bank. And there was a dark room off the side of the chemistry classroom. And after I'd been there several months, I approached the headmaster and said, there's a dark room here. There's no chemicals, but there's equipment. What about if I started a photography club? And he was all for it. I didn't know whether they had money for it. I knew how to develop black and white film. So we bought a camera, came to Kampala, got the chemicals, and I bought a camera, cheap camera, and I could roll 35 millimeter film. And we had it like a lending library. I would lend out the camera to the students, usually on the weekend, and then during the week, I would take them one or two at a time into the dark room and we would process them. And it was a very, very, especially for someone with a chemistry background, you make the exposure on the photographic paper and you put it in chemical and the picture pops out. And listening to the students go, you know. So that was a very, very good experience there. I also, students here were taught very formalized standard science, chemistry, physics, biology. But from their primary education, were often lacking in general chemistry knowledge. So if I would make an analogy to chemicals precipitating out of a solution to rainfall, collecting on dust particles and coming, they didn't understand what that was because they had no idea what would cause rain, how rain formed. So among other reasons, I started a science club. Initially they wanted, oh, he's going to go over past exams and teach us questions that will be coming up. I said, no, 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 no. We're going to learn some different kinds of science. So started a science club. And we were able to get films from the USAID of early American moon launches, including astronauts going around the moon. And vivid, up-to-date pictures of the moon, you know, and they had never seen anything like that, the craters on the moon. It was, But the other thing that was very interesting was that they thought it was fake. They said, oh, a big rocket ship goes up, but then you see this little thing in space. It was fake. And then I had to explain multi-stage rockets and things like that. So I felt like, in addition to the chemistry they were learning, which may or may not have ever been useful, they were getting a bigger picture of other things in the world. So it was very gratifying.
And you were there with your wife, so would you say her experience was similar to yours, or did you have different stories perhaps that you remember?
She had I think, a more difficult time. She had a rewarding experience, but this was an all-boys school. She was the only American woman for miles, only Mzungu woman for miles around.
Would you say my wife was the only, or my wife and then her name was the only?
Oh, my wife Linda was the only Mzungu woman around, and the school is run by Catholic brothers, black African Catholic brothers, and African staff, and so how to deal with a white woman teacher, a young white woman teacher. It was kind of a strange thing for them. So she had a more difficult time with that. But she had rewarding experiences in her classes with teaching English, things like that. I think I had an easier time as a male, and that's Ugandan culture.
And you remember any story that you together as a couple volunteers, as a couple, your wife and yourself, any story that you would like to share?
Well, we did a lot of hiking around the windy forest together with some of the other teachers. We were both chased by a mountain gorilla.
Wow.
We went to the windy forest to look for gorillas, but we had no idea it was there. There were some members of one of the Ugandan ministries who had been tracking the gorillas for a few days, and they agreeably let us join them. The trackers had located a nest or a group of gorillas, and we went along. And this was in the days before there was gorilla tourism or anything like that, and the gorillas were not habituated to humans. So we're going through the forest. It's a beautiful place, very dense, and we hear, first we saw a gorilla nest. They break nests in there. I took pictures of gorilla poop in there. And we got closer and there was noises. We had disturbed them. And I don't feel very proud of this, but we began chasing after them. And they tell you if a gorilla charges you, never turn around, stand your ground. Well, I can speak that that's very difficult to do. So there was a gorilla running away from us. Steve, the other Peace Corps volunteer, myself, and Linda behind us. And we're chasing this gorilla. And all of a sudden the noise starts coming louder towards us. So we all three turned tail and ran away from the gorilla. And I asked Steve afterwards, did you see anything? He said, I just saw some black fur. And Linda, who was behind me, was glad to be away from the gorilla. So we both had the experience of having been chased by a mountain gorilla. So.
It's probably the silver black, no?
I don't know. I am glad that I didn't.
You don't know.
Yeah,
You're glad you don't know.
Yes.
Well, then let's fast forward now. 20 years passed.
40.
40 years passed,
Yes.
yes. Excuse me. I don't know even why I'm saying 20. 40 years passed and now you are here. Why did you decide to come back?
For 1 second,
Sure.
just to plug in.